Well, the Security and Prosperity Partnership immediately brings to mind a question: for whom? Because it certainly isn't for Canadians, Americans, or Mexicans. It is essentially a means by which the security of the North American continent is being bundled into one massive border. Of course, by doing that, you eliminate the reason to have any other internal borders, namely the Mexican-U.S. border and the Canada-U.S. border.
This is something that we should have some input in at the very least. It's more like I wouldn't get into a car with somebody unless I knew where we were going. And what's happening right now is our corporate elites are driving us somewhere by locking us in the trunk, basically blindfolding us with the media and taking us to a place where we're not sure we want to go because we weren't asked first.
The security function of the SPP is the primary one. This is the one where, through all these machinations that come under the word prosperity, what they get to do is make us accept more and more security measures that we are told is going to increase our ability to be prosperous and all of that good stuff, but it doesn't work out that way.
Bush, Fox, and of course Canadian Prime Minister Paul Martin were the originators of the so-called Security and Prosperity Partnership, which critics call nothing more than a North American Union. It means open borders, commerce at all cost, and by the way, without the approval of either American voters or the U.S. Congress. Christine Romans reports.
Waco, Texas, 2005. Under these three men, the Security and Prosperity Partnership was born. An effort, the governments say, to harmonize regulations and increase cooperation between three very different countries. The Mexican president in Cancun this spring.
We need to elevate the competitiveness of our economies.
And a new Canadian Prime Minister joining the discussions as this North American partnership barrels ahead, with departments and ministries of all three governments working quickly to integrate North America by 2010. The official progress report boasting, quote, implementation is on track. And now Mexico's new president, Felipe Calderón, widely expected to keep the progress moving. Critics, though, say there's too little transparency and no congressional oversight.
The test of despotic power is that it can disregard the will of the people. It rules without the consent of the governed.
I tell you now, from the depths of my soul, if we do not stand up and scream no from the tallest of rooftops, if we do not become Paul Revere's and ride like hell, Canada will no longer be Canada. Our government will not be accountable to any Canadian, and this nation will be controlled by multiple cartels which are licking their chops over the riches that belong to us, the people of Canada.
Essentially what is going on is that the corporations that are involved in the consultation process with the three governments are setting things up so that they can maximize their profit. They are setting it up so that our labor is mobile, and therefore they can get their resources at the cheapest price, they can get their labor at the cheapest price, they can destroy our industries, our economy, our basic standard of living by all of this, but they maximize their profit. Then they sell it back to us at market prices.
Why are they not telling us what's in it for us? The reason they're not telling us what's in it for us is because there's nothing in it for us. If there was something in it for us, then they would tell us what they were doing with the SPP, with the NAU.
Although the SPP directly affects many specific issues, it is also part of a much larger scheme.
Have removed, and this is a bipartisan move. Republicans and Democrats alike, all expecting campaign contributions from multinational corporations. We've had here so far a Bush-Clinton advanced plan to take the North American Free Trade Agreement and advance it into the Security Prosperity Partnership. And we say if we do not stop it, we'll soon be at a North American common market, followed by a North American community, followed by a North American Union, and the elite have even named the new currency the Amero. If the elite have actively named the currency and are discussing it, I believe the American people have a right to be informed and to weigh in on the subject.
The Security and Prosperity Partnership will eventually develop into a North American Union. There's already talk of a common currency called the Amero, and once a country loses sovereignty on its money, it's completely lost sovereignty on everything. And being that our Bank of Canada is owned by us, as opposed to the Federal Reserve in the US being a private corporation, if we lose sovereignty on our money, we can just say goodbye to Canada. The name Canada will still exist, but just in name only.
Stores in 1935, March the 11th, 1935, and immediately the Bank of Canada then started printing real legal tender that was printed on behalf of the people, and they started to end the depression of the 30s by sending out checks of legal tender then to the farmers across the West or to various places where people needed workers to pay the workers. And during the war years, we actually created the third largest navy in the world. This was by putting everybody to work. And money represents what people create. The Bank of Canada was created, as I said, in 1934. The war started in 1939. And the government then was producing all the money that was needed to build the factories, to build the airplanes, and to build the ships. And as you can see by this graph, and this is from Statistics Canada, the figures, we did not peak high for a national debt. This is the history of Canada. Now, from here, there were no food banks in Canada that I knew of. There were no homeless people. Lotteries were illegal. We didn't have to have runs to finance medical care or cancer research. Canada thrived through those years. We also set up Canada as a peacekeeping nation during those years. So we have a proud history from 1935 basically until about 1974. And I would like to point out that here in 1974 our national debt stood at a mere $18 billion. During this period of time, a lot of Canadian companies could be self-financing. Once the international bankers began to get control of policy through government, get control of government, the international bankers, the private banks, encouraged expansion of Canadian-owned industries. Oh, you can borrow from us. And the process of putting nations, putting corporations, putting companies, putting peoples into debt began. And from that point on, the encouragement was, well, borrow from us. No one seemed to realize that when they borrowed from a private entity like that, that was not real money, that was putting your own assets at risk.